Alright, today I'm talking about the Solar A1.6. I'm going to be restringing this guitar, and I'm going to be just talking about how it's been so far. Now, I've done a few restring videos recently, and after the first few, I've started to notice a pattern in how guitars sound with old strings versus new strings. So instead of just rehashing the same kind of A/B test and drawing the same conclusions, I'm just going to talk about this guitar, how it's been and all that. So this will be similar to a long-term review, but it'll be more informal. And before I go any further, I have to say I'm not sponsored by Solar or any other brands mentioned. So first about the restring, I have to say it's the one series. It has the Evertune, it has the stainless steel frets, all that. But this has been a joy to change strings on. It's been so easy. You just feed the strings through the back, you string it through the tuning heads as you normally would. You just quote unquote tune up, you bring the tension up. And as long as you're not changing tunings or changing gauges or anything, it basically goes right back in tune. Now the strings, of course, they still have to stretch out. Strings will be strings. But all you got to do is just stretch it out a little bit and then reset the tension back to where you want it, whether you want it in the bend zone or if you want it just constant pitch. By the way, I've made a video about setting it into the bend zone, so I'll link that in the description. But it's super easy. The Evertune is really helpful. It's even easier, at least to me, than restringing on a fixed bridge. And I have to say the caveat with that is that the Evertune, it is a mechanical system, so sometimes it will get stuck. And then you have to quote unquote reset it. And how you do that is you just loosen the tension at the tuners at the headstock here until it bottoms out. And then you try tensioning up again. And that usually fixes it. On super, super rare occasions, never on this guitar, but on some of my other Evertune guitars, I've had to do that twice, but eventually it does work. If that happens even with all 6 strings, that's still, to me, less of a headache than having to restring a floating bridge. And I'm not saying restringing a floating bridge is the hardest thing in the universe, but it's not the most fun thing to do. Now, in terms of playing feel, this guitar, it kind of gives you what you expect. You know, it has that super strat body, it has the forearm carve, it has the flat top. So no surprises there. The fret axis is beyond excellent, especially with this carve away here, and it has the set in neck or whatever it is. So the fret axis is beyond perfect. Absolutely no complaints there. And playing the neck too, it's not a super thick neck. It's not Ibanez thin. If I had to equate it to something, it would kind of be like an LTD, but it feels like the string spacing is a little bit more, so it's like a cross between an Ibanez and LTD. It's pretty comfortable. I'd say you could do leads on it, you could riff on it. It's an all of the above kind of neck, especially for metal kind of stuff. Not saying you can't do blues on it by any means. I'm just not really a blues kind of guy. Other notes on playing feel, it does have that matte finish, and that's included on the neck, and I like the finish on the neck more than I thought I would. It has gotten slightly stickier after some years of playing, but not that sticky. It's still pretty fast. It doesn't feel like a gloss neck, for example. In terms of sound, can't complain. The stock pickups, they get the job done. I like how they fit into mixes. You've got the 5-way switch. Honestly, with this guitar, I usually use full bridge or full neck, but I've experimented with the Position 4 a little bit here and there. It's not the number one guitar I go to for that, but it is kind of nice knowing that it's there. The Evertune itself, it works. I just made a video talking about the thing I dislike the most about it. It's the playing feel. You know, you got a spring per string, so it's gonna feel different than a fixed bridge. The potentiometers on this, they work pretty well. There's no scratching or buzzing or anything. On some Solars, I've noticed that some potentiometers are super low friction to turn, so that gets kind of annoying, but on this one they're just fine. But I want to move on now to the question we're probably all thinking, and that's the quality. How has this all held up? I'm sure we've all heard by now about the Solar quality control, and I have to say, with all my Solars, the fretboards haven't cracked. I condition the fretboards twice a year, so maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe the humidity and stuff in this area is good and it doesn't encourage the ebony to crack. I'm not a material scientist, so I can't say for sure. But the fretboard has held up. The Evertune is pretty solid. The electronics and wiring, it's interesting because it's not the ultra best wiring in that it's not completely silent if there's a lot of EM noise. And I live in an apartment complex, so there is a lot of EM noise. So if I don't have a noise gate on my rhythm preset, then some buzzing can get in. I'd say it's not beginner guitar level buzzing. It's not that bad, but it is something to keep in mind. You're not getting super ultra premium wiring, but the wiring hasn't failed. And I've had some Ibanez Prestiges fail in terms of wiring, some pickups cutting out, some switches needing cleaning. Kind of disappointed on that front with those. In terms of quality for, say, like the bodywood, the resonance, all that, it's okay. These guitars are made to a certain price point. They're not the cheapest guitars. They're not the most expensive. And that's how it feels to play them. They do get the job done. They're not bad. They're pretty good. So those are just some brief thoughts after restringing this guitar. Of course, when you restring a guitar, the strings feel nice and smooth. To me, they sound a bit more alive, but maybe the sound of old strings works for you, for your band, what you're looking for. I think if this was my only guitar, if I didn't have any other guitar and just this one, I think I would be okay with that personally for what I do. My influences are 2000s metalcore. I like video game music, some Baroque music here and there, and other things too, rock, all that stuff. So I could use this guitar for my music career, I think. Especially in this day and age, if I needed a 7-string or an 8-string, I could pitch down and it would be fine. For me personally, I do prefer using an actual 7 or 8 string if I am gonna be playing down that low, but to each their own. And then finally, I think it's interesting, just one more thought, that the strat button on the upper horn is on the back right here. And I understand why they did that. They wanted this upper horn to be as pointy as possible, to look super metal and all that. So that's interesting. I do prefer just if the strap is at the end, it's okay for me if it's not the pointiest upper horn. I like how it would balance if the button was on the end just a bit more, but that's a super small, just a nitpick right there. It's not the end of the world. I do have to have my strap at a different length than I would if I was playing one of my Ibanez guitars. I have to have the strap shorter. So that's one other thought. But what do you think? Did you find this interesting, just musing about this guitar, talking about this guitar after restringing it? Should I make this a series? Was this more helpful than the common A/B test of old versus new strings? Do you have opinions about the Solar guitars, especially the A1.6 guitars? Be sure to comment down below. If you want to continue the discussion, come join the Discord. We have fun talking about guitars there. And hey, this is YouTube, so I got to say the YouTube things. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it. If you're looking for something cool to listen to, I'm on all major streaming services, Hi-Z Productions. I do some originals and a bunch of video game music. And hey, as always, peace.